I'm gonna try to do a rock to point video. I got some random rocks here. We'll see how it goes. These are raw. Yep. This is the typical size that I find if I find a larger chunk on the surface. This is the size of larger pieces. Let's see. Yeah, 5 inches is about the largest I can find on the surface. So it's pretty typical. A lot of other ones have these breaks. I think I took that break off though. But they do have breaks like this one here. I removed that one just to see the interior. That was pretty good. This one I didn't do anything to it. That one looks like pretty good stuff too. But it probably needs heat treatment. This is the worst one of the batch because it's so irregular. I'll see what I can do. Yeah, let's put the other glove on. I'm going to be smacking this pretty hard. Yeah, sometimes when I hit really hard, the flakes actually come back and hit my hand, so just to be on the safe side. Safe side. Yeah. Nasty. This is heat treat stuff too. Or it's kind of waxy looking to begin with, which means it's not too bad in the raw state. Usually that's what that means. Not always. Sometimes it's just really stubborn, even though it might look good. And no, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just trying to get spalls off of it anywhere that I can. They don't need to be big spalls. They just need to be, 2 inches or more, I suppose. Where'd it go? Yeah, about 2 inches. These flakes are about 2 inches long, so they're good for small arrowheads. There's a crack in it. It feels like there's a... Like I cracked the whole thing already. Or there's a seam in there somewhere. Alright, there's a natural seam right there. Never know until you crack it open. Another seam right there. Pretty typical landscape stone also, as far as the shape and the crackedness. The material is a little bit better than the typical landscape stone. There it goes. When you hit one side and the other side pops off, that's when you know it's already cracked. Where'd it go? Right there. The middle is concrete. Do I see artifacts made out of this stuff? Oh, yes. Not many, but I do see some stuff very similar. What do I do with these clunky pieces? Well, if I have time, I heat treat them. When I don't have time, I just throw them away. They're just too clunky. And they got potential issues. Yeah, this stuff is not that great. I have some experience with this, a little bit of experience with heat treating this type of stuff. Yeah. If I remember correctly, it heat treats well, but not at high temperature. I would heat treat it at 325 just to see what it turns out looking like. And then if it doesn't nap at 325, try it again, a little bit hotter, but nothing more than 400. Yeah, because it's already actually not too bad as far as surface fine gravel type chert. It's not that bad, but it's difficult to make something out of it unless you heat treat it, and then it becomes much easier to notch and to put some details into it rather than just a clunky piece. I'm going to try to get a biface out of it so I can do the stone to point thing, but I don't know if I'll be able to. We'll see. Never know. Get some steel out. I might heat treat it just for fun. Yeah. Just to see how badly it breaks up. Because I got a feeling it'll break up. Even at 325. But you never know. Break up, I mean, you know, crazy. I'll get all crumbly on the inside. Yeah, that concrete is serious. Heat treatment can usually lessen the nastiness of concrete in the middle, but with this stuff, I don't know. If I can skin that off and then end up just with the surface here, I can skin that off the middle, I'll be doing right. I just hit my finger on it. It went between the billet. My finger was between the billet and the tip of that. That hurt. Okay. That should have gone further. Should have. Yeah, the surface, the skin of this is nice. So if I can get rid of the middle, I'll be in business. The trouble is the surface is not all that flat. So, you know, if the surface rises, this concrete rises in there too. So it might be just a big blob right here in the middle. If that's the case, I'm going to have some trouble. Yep. Yeah, I'm cheating a little bit. This snaps a lot like granite right here in this part. This other part down here is not too bad. I don't want to nap too much of that off of there, but I do have to get past some of those cracks. Sometimes it's not too bad to have a step fracture in front, because then if it's really steep, I can just hit that step fracture and blow away the obstacle in many cases. But that one is a multiple step, so that's not that good as far as a surface to strike against. Let's see. Starting to do it. It doesn't look that promising, but I'm going to try it. That was the hardest hit so far. That was the second hardest hit. I'm trying to really skin off that concrete or get under it. Yep. If I can get under it to the good stuff, we're in business. Now, do I know anybody that naps this kind of stuff? It's very rare that I find someone that will nap this kind of stuff. I find this kind of stuff in the trash all the time at nap-ins with some of the best nappers around. Yep, no one naps this kind of stuff. Even the good ones. Even the good nappers, they won't even try it. They know. Oh, yes. I've seen many a concretey piece like this in the trash. We'll see what we can do. I don't know, maybe I want to hit it from the other side. This side is a little bit too crunchy. Maybe this side will be a little bit better for striking areas. They're not so crunchy on this side. Maybe it is crunchy. That didn't do anything. That was a very, very hard hit. Same with that one. It's doing something, but it's not doing something all that great. All right, there we go. It tried to get under the concrete, so it's trying. The flakes are trying to get under that concrete. I might succeed here as long as I don't crack it in half. That's a big as long as. Yeah, as long as I don't crack it in half, that's being very optimistic. Let's see what happens if I tap that step fracture. There it is. It did get under it. All right, so now we just have to figure out the flattening strategy. I still got some to go because there's still a crack in there. That worries me, that crack. See that? There's nothing on that side though. So it doesn't go all the way through, but it is there. And that can open up and make my day not so good. Put a damper on my day. Wants me to hit the base, but I'm not going to. I can hit the sides, but not directly there because that crack will open up. See it? Yeah, that crack is not good. I'm going to have to lose some length somewhere because it's going to start curving. Once I eliminate that crack, it's going to be curved. It's because what's happening is the skin is following the natural contour, right? And I'm following where the skin is. So it's going to be curved no matter what. Unless I leave some of the concrete in there, and I don't want to leave any of it. Because then I won't be able to make a fancy point. I won't be able to thin it if it's got too much concrete. Unless I leave some step fractures in. Those nauseating step fractures. Something flew. What flew? There was a non-dislodged flake. I don't know. So I'm choosing to lose some off of that side, and I'm going to lose some off the tip and the base. How's that? I should have looked earlier. There's another crack here. I don't know if you can see it. It's going that way. So maybe I should have taken more off the tip to get rid of that crack up here. We shall see. Now, new guys won't be able to do this, and they're the ones that ask for these types of videos. I'm not bragging, but I'm just saying I can do this now that I've got a lot of experience. But when I was new, I tried to do this when I was new, and there's no way. But this is exactly what new guys want to do. So I'm going to show you that it is possible. But for you to be able to do it as a new guy, you've got to be able to pick up the Flintknapping skill extremely fast. You might be one of those guys that can pick up the Flintknapping skill very, very fast. There are prodigies out there, for sure. But in general, I'm not going to be able to do it until much later in your knapping career. Hopefully this will shorten the time it will take you just to see the potential. It'll shorten the time it'll take you to get here to where you can work these nasties. I used to recommend just going for it, knap whatever you got. But it's so frustrating for many people that I stopped recommending that general advice. Just go ahead and knap whatever you got, because sometimes these guys just had enough. They'll have enough, they'll get sick of it, and they won't continue because it's not worth it. That's what they're thinking. They see the potential, and they know where they can find rocks just like this, and they say, well, I can make anything with anything. Why not an arrowhead with stone? As I've said before, Flintknapping is not that type of skill. It's very different than the usual skills because of the element of risk. Yeah, it's risky, it's dicey. And the things that contribute to your success, to leave it thick and you'll be more successful. Leave some step fractures in, you'll be more successful. Those two things make people sick to their stomachs. Right? That's different than other skills. Like if you're starting with woodworking, just use an easier wood to work with, something that cuts and sands well and drills well, and you'll make a nice project. And the fact that you're using kind of not so fancy wood doesn't make you feel sick to your stomach, right? Well, this kind of stuff does, because this kind of stone, it's easy to work with if you leave in the step fractures and leave in the thickness and stuff, but that kind of stuff is nauseating to many people. Yeah. Am I going to leave some step fractures? I will if I have to. What is an example of have to? If I can't get to it. I mean, if I start to develop an island and it's not going anywhere, I might just say, okay, I'm going to stop while I'm ahead and not continue to flake into it, because it's going to create a worse and worse situation, and just kind of leave a little bit of step fracturing in a certain area of the point. I'll just leave in some step fracturing. Like, I could leave the step fracture in there because there's artifacts like that with a step fracture right there on next to the edge. That one is not that difficult to remove, so I'll probably be able to remove it. But like this one here in the middle, that little dip, that's a natural crack in the stone itself, but it also looks like a step fracture. That kind of stuff makes people woozy, gives me a headache, and then they get nauseous. But I would leave it in. I'd leave in this mess in the middle there. Yeah, no biggie. If I have to. If I can't get to it. Is it translucent? Not really. Not really. I think on the edges it'll be translucent. Nicely translucent on the edges. Some of those thin pieces look like they... Yeah. It looks pretty good if you can get it thin. But that's a big if you can get it thin. And why did I leave it lopsided? Just so that I can have an option of maybe flaking from that side. But I'm going to trim it down. Yeah. Trim it to where it's symmetrical. Well, that solved that problem. A little bit too much trimmings. There's a defect. That's my excuse. See that? That's a defect. Are there other defects in this? Potentially? Oh yes. Potential defects are everywhere. With this kind of stone, I might not even know, might not even see the another surface crack, because I still am close to the cortex. There could be a surface crack anywhere in here that goes into the stone, like right there. That might go deep. You never know. That's why you new guys should not be napping this kind of stuff. It's just going to create a lot of misery. It's counterintuitive to save this kind of stuff for later. Save your nastiest stuff for when you're really good at napping. So it seems a little bit counterintuitive. You want to save your really good stuff when you're good, for when you are better at napping, and just nap through this nasty stuff when you're new. That's the natural thing and the intuitive thing and the thing that seems to make common sense, but it's not. The nastiest stuff is some of the hardest stuff to nap. It requires some of the most advanced skills. You know what I mean? So you gotta save the nasty stuff for later. If you just go by logic, resist the temptation and resist the natural tendency. No, there's nothing wrong with saving nice stuff for later, because you can do a lot of beautiful points when you're skilled with the nice material. Yeah, not only is the workmanship nice after you've got some skill, but the material is nice also. Yeah, that's a winning combination right there. But as far as learning, if you want to learn and make the learning curve less severe for yourself, you save the nasty stuff for later. Yeah, that's what I'm saying right now. Who knows, I might change my mind and say, no, you know what, maybe I was wrong. Go ahead and nap the good stuff later. I think I wish someone had told me about heat treating sooner. And told me about the benefits of using metals other than copper. When I first started, if you were not using copper, you were weird, you were dumb, you were a contrarian. Even the antler people looked at you funny if you're not using copper. Yeah. Because it was unheard of. So I used copper. I spent some money on copper, and I was thinking, if copper's so great, why am I not able to tackle the toughest raw stuff? Copper is just getting all bent out of shape. Pun intended. Yeah, I had a hard time. Because I was, like you guys, I started practicing on the nasty stuff first. Yeah, I didn't want to ruin my good stuff. People would tell me, that's really good stuff. Don't nap on it right now. Okay. I wish it would have told me. Take your nasty stuff, heat treat it. While you're learning how to heat treat and experimenting, nap some of your good stuff. Don't nap all your good stuff, like maybe half of it. Start napping it to learn to nap. And then your heat treat will start taking over as you get better at heat treating. And you nap all your heat treats. And then once you get done with that, then go to the really good stuff. And then don't depend only on copper. Try some steel and all that kind of steel and aluminum and whatever. I'm even getting back into brass. I tried brass a while ago and didn't like it because it's very, very slippery and bouncy and it's just weird. But it is an option, especially if that's what you have available for free. Oh yeah, if you got brass for free, or you know a guy that'll give you all of his old welding rods, his brass welding rods and stuff for pressure flakers, because he doesn't do any welding anymore. Says, yeah, I got like 80 pounds of brass, man. You can say, give it to me, because it can work, even though it's going to be a pain in the butt. It still works, and it's not as bad a pain in the butt after you find out it's free. Yeah, you'll be napping and you go, man, this brass is really slippery, but it's free, so I love it. Yeah, I love it. Slip and slide all you want. It's free. That's what I would say. I can't get any brass for free. I did get some people sent me brass back in the day. I got a bunch of it back in the day. And then I cut it up into appropriate sized pieces. And then I stashed it. And it's in one of my boxes. I got to break it out sometime. Look around in my boxes more. You might ask, how many boxes you got? Oh, I got tons. Yeah, I got tons in my tons of boxes. Yep. Little boxes. I got a bunch of little boxes. The sad thing is that a lot of times I mix my napping materials together with other stuff. Like I found napping, like copper nails and other pieces of metal in with my pigments and sinew and leather straps and all kinds of stuff. Sometimes I get them all mixed together, and I look for this one box that has my napping metals. I can't find it because I forgot that I tried to save some space and put it together with my other stuff. Yep. I use bronze too. Bronze actually works well. So I bet you they were using bronze pressure flakers during the Bronze Age to do their flint knapping. Yeah, even though it's more expensive to produce bronze than it is to produce copper implements. You can knap with it, and I think they did knap with it, especially with the fancy points that have the nice pressure flaking. Bronze is harder than copper, so it's very much like mild steel. It can power through the raw stone and pressure flake the raw stone well, just like you're using a piece of steel. Piece of mild steel. Mild steel. If you don't know what mild steel is, just buy nails, okay? You can't go wrong if you use nails for your tool tips, because that type of steel is like this, right? This is the nail. It bends, but it's not really bendy. It has some spring to it. It's hard, but not so hard that it's really slippery. It'll grab the edge a little bit. So it's perfect, in my opinion. Nails are the best. You know, you can get fancy and look for wrought iron rods and rods of steel of different alloys, titanium, steel, and other alloys. Titanium does work, by the way. But yeah, don't get too fancy, because then you're just working too hard. If you already know that steel nails work, just go with the steel nails. Unless you're bored. I'm so bored by having such good tools. I'm going to get something else that's not so good. I'm so bored. I'm bored with the good. If you're bored with the good, then yeah, by all means, forget the mild steel. Go for the hardened stuff. See how nasty it is. Yeah. Why is it nasty? I should just let you have the fun. Figure it out. Find out. I wouldn't want you to be bored. Yeah. All right, it's going to be hard to thin this, but I'm going to try it. 38 minutes. It's a leaf-shaped blade, kind of. It's got extremely dull edges. Yeah, bad stone is hard to sharpen. You didn't know that? Now you know. You might be saying to yourself, you mean I learned on hard stone, really nasty stone, and it was hard to sharpen for everybody? I thought it was just me hard to sharpen it. It was just me not sharpening it. No, it's hard to sharpen nasty, yucky stone. It's not just you. But hey, you decided to learn on it, so not my problem. It's not my problem. You wanted to learn on it. And you wanted to hunt with it. You're finding out that it's hard to sharpen. It's not my fault. I told you. Not all bad stone for knapping is difficult to sharpen. Some of it creates an extremely sharp edge. So if you got an anecdote, if you got a personal experience and you tell me, hey man, all of my nasty stone sharpens up razor sharp, what you talking about, Willis? Yeah. Talking about old shows. I forget what that one was called. Good Times or something? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, you might have a nasty stone that sharpens well. Okay, fine. This one is not sharpening well, and I know a lot of stones that don't. They're in the same boat as this one. But I'm gonna sharpen it. Just gonna take a little more effort. How so? How is it a little more effort? I gotta be more careful about how I strike the edge so it doesn't smash and crush. And so I take off nice clean flakes. And try not to abrade too much. Because if I abrade too much, sometimes I can't get rid of all the dull spots from the abrading. Yeah, because it'll be all crushy. But if it's sharp, kind of sharp to begin with, and I snap off a nice clean flake, and be very careful about it, it'll end up being sharper than if I were to grind it heavily and try to be all fancy about it. Yeah, I was trying to be fancy about it there so I can thin it, but you new guys won't be able to do that. So when you sharpen it, just concentrate on the edge without thinning. You can put a bevel on it, down one side only. That's the easiest. You can try to do what I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with it. Other than it's a little bit frustrating when you get step fractures near the edge, because I'm trying to thin as I go inward. When you're trying to thin as you shape, you're going to get annoying step fractures. Like, I'll show you. Like this one. That's annoying. These are annoying. That's kind of annoying. Annoying. These little flakes that go in, but they don't feather out. They just step. They're annoying. Yeah. And if you got dozens of them on your workpiece, yeah, it makes you want to hurl. Yep. That's the way it goes. Yeah, see? It's all crushy. Even though I'm removing flakes, it still doesn't sharpen up all that easily. I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot of crystals mixed in with this chert. Can you see? You can see the sparklies in there somewhere. Trying to nap through that. It's gonna to make sure it's sharp. It's gonna have to be kind of jaggedy. Yeah. Why? Because I want to remove big flakes. If I start removing too many small flakes, it just dulls the edge. Yeah. Removing a lot of small flakes works with Obsidian, but when it gets to this really grainy stuff, it doesn't work all that well to remove the little bitty flakes. You're going to pop out some big flakes, bold flakes. So you have as much of the natural edge as possible. You don't want to be on the edge, scratching the edge and popping little flakes off the edge too much with this grainy stuff. I don't know why it just doesn't work all that well. It works better if you pop off these bigger flakes. At least on this piece. It's not always the case, but this is very similar to knapping quartzite. The low quality stuff, the quartzite stuff. Because this is a mix of quartzite and chert, where it's really grainy and then not so grainy. I messed up on that one. The flake released too quickly there, and I wasn't able to push inward enough to get rid of that lump. Even though I'm using copper, it should be working well, but it's not. Let's see. Try the spatula tool. That actually looks like it might work better. Yeah, okay, looks better. I'm trying to thin and sharpen at the same time. Trying to. And shape. Shape the edge. Make it nice and pretty. I'm just pushing mainly downward. Can you see? No? Oh well. Come on. You were doing well just a second ago. Yeah, it fails me right on the tip. It fails. Let's see. Probably because I'm afraid to put too much pressure on the tip. And if it's not in focus, too bad, because I want a glove on this hand. I can't manipulate the focus when I'm having the glove on this hand. I can put it closer to the camera, I suppose. But then I can't see through the camera. It's in front of me. It's in my way. Can't see. Alright, let's see if this works to blow off some of that thick spot with the spatula tool. Let's see. I try to push against that step fracture first. Let's see. Nice. I'm able to get a better purchase with the spatula tool than I was with the round tool. Alright. Yeah, the secret is just to be able to get seated so you can push the flakes off. But there's a step caused by natural defect. See if I can push it on the face of that step. Yes. Alright then. Spatula tool did okay. I'm not going to mess with it any further on the tip. I could try to get rid of that lump. Yeah. Let's see. Do I have room on the edge? I suppose I got a little bit of room. You know, run a percussion flake, indirect percussion flake in the area to thin down the tip so it's be more tapered. It is kind of tapered, but I would like to get rid of that lump right there. Just for you guys. I don't care. So yeah, I braid it a lot to get ready for the percussion strikes. You know, don't braid it too high because then I would wipe out my nice sharp tip. All right. Did it do it? I think it did it. One more. Yeah. It's more tapered now. Very nice. Let's take some more risks, shall we? Let's try to get rid of that lump. Why not? Might as well, right? It's just a crappy little piece of rock. Ooh, I felt it go. Yeah, it did crack, but it didn't go far enough. It stopped. Why did it stop? Something in the way. There's a crack in the stone that made some weird things happen. So now I got this weird step looking crack when I didn't have one there before. Where did that come from? Came from Bad Lucksville. We're steaming down the tracks on a really cool train, and then it takes a side. It takes a side route into Bad Lucksville. There we go. We got out of Bad Lucksville pretty quick. But we had to take a risk of breaking the whole thing. And the risk of, you know, it's getting too thin right where I shot that last flake, so now I gotta thin it down somewhere near the tip. At least a little bit. Or try. This material is not too bad on this side. It's worse on this side, I think. I don't know. Which side's the good side? I can't remember now. Am I getting it? I think that's good enough. Yeah, I don't want to push my luck. So what can I make? There's a lot of different choices. Most of the time when I have a preform of this size, I make a San Pedro. Yeah. What should I do? Let's see. Well, while I'm thinking about it, I can just regularize it. Although sometimes I like asymmetrical points, you know, just leave it asymmetrical. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah. Just notch it and be done with it. Not even the stem or the base needs to be perfect. Gotta stop making the perfect points. They're too nice. I've been doing points that are too nice. Let's do some asymmetrical stuff. Simple base. Nothing fancy. You know, I can sharpen it and even up the edge a little bit, but it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. I should use this spatula tool because it works well. Yeah. I can't remember if the spatula tool works well on quartzite or not. A lot of you guys are napping quartzite. Are you using spatula tools? No? You don't know what you're missing. I just had a guy ask me, what the heck is a spatula tool? Never heard of it. It's a dead giveaway. Shouldn't have said that. Now I know you've never been watching the channel. Yeah, where you been? I've been on here for years. You don't know what a spatula tool is? Haven't been watching the channel. Caught ya. Oh yeah, you've been caught. You might have somebody out there might have a fancy name for the spatula tool. That's a notcher, dude. It's not a spatula. It's a notcher. Okay, it's a notcher. Still haven't heard of it. Have you? Where you been? Okay, here we go. This is when it gets to the nitty gritty, trying to push in those notches on this nasty material. I should just do minimal notches, huh? You might say, well, look, guys from India, they make really narrow notches on really thick, nasty stuff. Yeah, they got a lot more practice. I hate to admit it, but they got a lot more practice than I do. They make hundreds of these a week. I'd be lucky if I make 10. Yeah. Oh, I've tried to make as many as possible during the week. I ended up with pain and suffering. Just because other people can do it doesn't mean that I can do it, although I try. I tell myself, I can do it if someone else is doing it, and I end up trying it, and no. I don't know what's up. Either I'm not doing it right, or I just don't have the structure for it. Something's not right. I'm going to have to thin it down, so what I'm doing is dulling it. Since I have room on that side, since it's asymmetrical, I can send in some flakes to thin it. Because it's just too thick right there. I'm going to have trouble thinning it down. I mean, notching it. I'm going to have trouble notching it. Yeah. Maybe I'll learn the technique from India eventually. So I can notch deeply and narrowly this really thick, nasty stuff. Now they're using steel, all right? They're not notching deeply on this nasty stuff with antler or bone or horn. They're using steel tools, so it's modern technique. Yeah, that's one of the dangers right there. See that? Those cracks in the middle are rearing their ugly head over and over. I think that's an existing crack. Yeah. That's a bummer. It does look like it goes deeper than that, doesn't it? That's one thing I don't see on real artifacts. I see step fractures and I see mistakes along the edges. One thing I don't see is existing cracks left in. I think they discard those. If it has an existing crack, it's probably going to snap right there at that point. And it won't do any good. I'm going to try to nap it away as much as possible. Minimize it. See, I was in the process of thinning. I probably shouldn't even have taken that flake, because that part was thin enough. It's this part that I was worried about, notching into that part. Yeah, I'm not doing any good. Now I'm trying to thin something that doesn't lend itself to thinning, and I'm putting a curve in it. Gotta try though. Try to even it out. Let's see. Almost dropped it on some of this debris. Yeah, the towel absorbs a shock, but not if there's a rock on it. If this lands on one of those rocks, it's done for. Yeah, see, that's the kind of thing I don't see on real artifacts, but I'll leave it in on this one. Okay. The hard part about notching these is you need a lot of pressure, and when you put a lot of pressure, it blows off those barbs. It tends to just blow away all the delicate areas. Unless you're lucky like that. I think it still did curl up a little bit and take some of that off. I don't know. I think I can deepen the notches a little bit. but I gotta try this side first. It's just saying Pedro point already. I don't need to notch it much further. There's a partially undetached flake in there. I'm trying to get it out. Just for grins and giggles. There's no real need for it. Let's see. I think I can do a little bit better. Yeah. It's already been an hour. Hour and 7 minutes. I bet you some of you have been waiting for me to knock that little step fracture off the whole time, huh? I messed up the tip. Yeah, I broke a little bit off the tip. Just a tiny bit, not too much. Yeah, I'll leave it like that. I'll just check for dull spots. And anything sticking out. Yeah, you just push a flake off on the dull spot, and theoretically, you can remove a flake and sharpen it. It'll sharpen it just by removing that flake. I'm trying to shape it too. Yeah, I said I was going to make an asymmetrical point, but it's not perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I want to be careful because if I take a bite out of the side right now, it'd be a bummer. You know, if I remove too much, It's all right. Yeah, the only thing that bugs me is the crack right there. The step fracture here is not bad. The step fracture up here is not bad. In my opinion, anyway. It did get slightly curved, but it's not bad. Where's my little dark force shaft? I had it yesterday. There it is. It's too the notch is too wide, yes, but the little dart force shaft is not too wide itself, so it looks pretty good on there. Yeah. Now there's some debate whether these were used as knives as well as at little dart points. When they're half to in that little dart force shaft. I don't know if you guys saw the latest from Hunt Primitive. They were dissecting, or they were butchering a buffalo or a bison, and they found that using these force shafted at little dart points didn't work as well as a point like this mounted to a thick handle like that. This works better for butchering, according to them, than this, which might be true. I have used them as knives like this, but I haven't done extensive butchering like on a cow or a bison. That's some heavy duty butchering. You know, I've cut chicken and pork with this stuff, and maybe a little bit of brisket and that kind of thing, but not the whole cow or the whole bison. So yeah, there's an internal crack in here. I'm just going to leave it. There's an internal crack in there. It is a little bit translucent around the edges. This is very poor quality raw, but it's made from the best part of that rock, from the skin, on one of the larger areas. But as with many of the surface finds, there's cracks near the surface, so even if it's the higher quality stuff on the skin of the nodule or the stone, you can still encounter natural cracks in it like that can ruin your day. That one's not too bad because it looks like it doesn't go much deeper than it looks. Just slightly. There's enough thickness in there, I suppose, to hold it together if you wanted to use it for hunting, but I wouldn't trust it. Just use it as a knife, and then if it snaps, oh well. At least it makes good video content, I hope. Yeah, I didn't do anything fancy with the notching or the stem. And it's, you know, it's asymmetrical. It's thicker here on this side than on that side. I'm not going to start doing anything to that right now, because any pressure flaking or percussion flaking could open up this crack here and it'll snap right in the middle. I think I want to offer that together with the one of the auction offerings. Just put this in with one of the auction offerings. Yeah. Alright, there's a stone to point for you. Let's get a good view. Yes, maybe, no? I don't know. I want to get these boxes out of there. I don't want to see those bins. Don't want to see the bins. Okay.